Name's Dave. Right, let's take a little look at budgeting when you're broke then. The very first thing that I do want to say is that broke, well, it's a state of mind, not an account balance. I mean, we can feel broke for lots of reasons. We may have $1,500 in the bank today, but the reason we feel broke is that we know we have a $1,000 mortgage payment due tomorrow. We might feel broke because we're not really sure if we're making ends meet each month. We may feel broke because we don't have much when we start. We may be starting with nothing, or we could be starting with an overdraft, which is, well, less than nothing. So I want to assure you right from the very start, whatever your starting situation is or whatever your account balance is, we can all make a plan for our money. In fact, planning becomes even more important now. We can do our thinking, we can start to take control. Now in YNAB, we plan with goals. That's what I've done for these categories. This goal is telling me that every month I need $75 ready to pay the internet bill. This goal is telling me I need $150 every month to pay the personal loan. This goal tells me I've got an auto loan that takes $200 off me every month, that I think I'll need about $500 a month for food. So I've set goals to start to plan. Now I've also taken into consideration my priorities and my lifestyle, and I've arranged my categories into different groups according to the priority order. Because there are going to be some things that I must spend money from each month. Things like rent, things like utilities. There are some things that I might need to spend money on if they happen, like medical, auto repairs. And then these are the ones that are more discretionary, like the dining out, my other wants. But be realistic though when you make this plan for your money. There is no right or wrong answer to the question, is fun money a need or a want? Because if planning to spend nothing on fun has caused you to give up in the past, well, I think I'd call it a need to have some fun for now. So plan for it. We can always adjust later if necessary. Now, no matter where you start that journey, we can all do this. It's time that is very well spent because we're going to gain more knowledge about where we stand. Once we know where we stand, we can work on trying to decrease spending if we can. And especially if what we've done so far shows me that we need to reduce spending. Because the lower my spending, the quicker I get out of the hole. So we'll have a look at the totals there. So far I've set goals that we'll be planning and needing $2,095 to fund them. I can even add in those ones that may come along. So what do I do when it now starts to come to cutting back a little? Well, this is where we're now going to start to challenge assumptions. Can I realistically reduce any part of that plan? That's the plan for what I'm doing now. Can I anywhere reduce it? I mean, we may have already started to cut down the obvious things like a little bit from dining out, or we've dropped the daily coffee. But even here, up in the must spend group, can I work on reducing something? I mean, just because my internet is a must, does it mean that I have to have a $75 internet service? Could I maybe take a slower net connection, cut $20 a month from here, $20 a month for something else? Am I prepared to start meal planning a little bit maybe? Start to work on reducing this number. Have I checked the market recently for cheaper car insurance deals? Do I need all the subscription services that I'm paying for right now? So it's another opportunity to do some thinking as we plan, gain more control over the finances and stress levels, of course. And again, there is no right or wrong answer here. Netflix is certainly optional. But if I cancel Netflix and then spend more time out with my friends, am I really going to be saving money? So again, be realistic. It's not about cutting everything. It's about challenging assumptions. So before I go on to start broke with a overdraft, is everybody doing okay so far about what we're doing here? We do the thinking with the planning, we do planning with goals, we do prioritizing. Even if those goals are coming from guesses for now, Give me your hands up in the window there. I want to make sure everybody's comfortable that this is really just about thinking, planning, sitting down, giving ourselves some time, being comfortable with the guesswork that we're probably going to have to do. Yeah, excellent. Okay, so we've got a plan there as best we can. We may have made a few little action points to go and contact a few people, try and reduce a few of these bills if we can. We got the plan. Let's add the accounts. And we're going to start with less than nothing. And then you'll pick up as we gain a little, lose a little, gain a little, spend a little. You'll pick up maybe where you are in the journey. So my checking account today, the balance today, YNAB's checking to make sure I meant negative 400. The answer is yes. And here's the big deal. This is the only workshop where we can't follow YNAB's rules. Why? Why can't we follow rule one? Rule one, give every dollar a job. My problem? I do not have dollars. We don't have money to budget with. We can't follow rule one until we bring in more than $400. So what is my objective now? It is to spend absolutely as little as possible. Look at the budget every time you're thinking of spending money to remind yourself of the plan. Is it a must? If the answer is yes, do I absolutely need to spend this money today? Yes. If the answer is yes, then ask yourself another question. Do I have to spend absolutely this much money today? Remind yourself it's only temporary. It's just till we get our head above water. So as we then go on to do necessary spending, I'm going to go and buy some food today. What's important is that it's inside of my plan. I'm not failing when I spend money that's part of my essentials, my plan. I spend $100 and I record the spending in the usual way. Grocery store, groceries, $100. This is what the bank account's going to look like, another 100 in the hole. And there's the budget with the $100 overspent. But again, I spent money I didn't have on groceries, I know. I had to eat though. And I'm spending within the plan that gets me out of debt, the plan that gets me out of the hole. So again, if I just lower those hands, I really want to drill this home and make sure everyone's comfortable. This is not failing when I have to spend this money. It's within the plan and YNAB's going to keep track of it. Is everybody comfortable with that? If you're starting in the hole, there are times you're going to have to spend money. Don't sweat it. Focus on making the decisions before you spend about whether you have to, and if you have to, do I have to spend this much? Other stuff, these musts, they're going to happen. We know they are. It's why they're there. Yeah. Permission to spend. It is. But challenge every spending action. Okay, so what happens if money doesn't come in and we have to do more and more spending and we get, well, I'll show you. I've got a budget here that's already prepped up. This is what it would look like after paying some bills. Had to pay the internet bill, had to pay the phone bill, had to pay my personal loan, had to buy a bit of groceries, had to buy some gas. And a friend of mine turned up out the blue, wanted to go to the comedy club after he'd bought me dinner. So I even went to the comedy club and spent 30 bucks on fun. It was spending that I did. Now, even though I haven't received any paycheck yet, I do need to keep track of this money I'm spending. I'm paying those essential bills. YNAB reflects the reality in the bank account. And if I don't receive any money this month at all, YNAB's going to keep track of this spending. And when I roll over into the next month, everything matches and we start where we start. We do exactly the same next month. Spend as little as possible. Hold on to as much as possible. And I'm going to keep on doing that until I get to a point where I do get some money. Let's get a $600 paycheck that arrives today. Money I've got. 600 comes in. We've got money to budget with for the first time. It's more than the 400 overdraft I started with. So it does give me $200 that I get to give a job to. Now, it's very likely some of you will be starting here. You weren't in overdraft when you started, but you were starting with very little. and you had some overspending like I've had. So what do I do with this wonderful $200 now? Well, yes, I can give a job to it. The thing is, even though it's the start of turning the corner, the first thing it needs to do is to cover the overspending I've already done this month. So we're not going to get ahead of the bills just yet. We're going to start catching up and stopping some of the overspending rolling over into the next month. I don't think I can cover all of them. Just cover the overspending as much as I can. That's as far as I can go. Now, if I can't cover the rest of it by the end of the month, no problem. YNAB once again keeps track of it when we roll over. Again, the budgeted and the bank account match. And again, I would do the same thing of trying to spend as little as possible, hold on to as much of my check as I can, but be confident. I mean, you've got a plan, you're tracking your spending, you're going to do it. It just takes time. That's all, a matter of how long. And then until one day we do receive a paycheck that not only allows us to cover what we've been overspending, but also gives us something to budget with Rule 1. Here comes another check. We've been paying some more bills. This one comes in for $850. We're out the hole with the bank. We've got money to budget with, positive dollars that I've earned that need a job. What do we do with the first ones? Cover the rest of the overspending. And then finally, for the first time, we're ahead of the game. We're ahead of the game. I've got everything covered that's been spent. It's a major win. I mean, if you're in overdraft when you start, or if you start with almost nothing, this is the turning point in your financial life because we're ahead of the spending. If you're starting here, as some of you may be, with not much in the bank, what do we do now? Well, now we can at least use the rules. This is our faithful plan. What's next? How far does this money stretch? Will it get me to the next paycheck? So we ask the question, what does the money need to do before I'm paid again? Remember, Rule 1, we give every dollar a job. I'm going to get ahead of my next bill, electric and water, and can I stretch to the auto loan? Yes, that takes $310. Again, lovely. We've got money ahead now. We've climbed our way out. $265, I'm going to put some of that towards the rent. That'll take the pressure off the next check. And I'm going to split some of this other stuff between a bit of essentials like groceries and gas. Now, we might not be completely out of the hole. We may need to spend more and follow this process another month, but we're not slipping backwards. We're spending according to the plan, and we know it's a plan that's working. So remember, broke is a state of mind. It is not an account balance. Broke comes from not having a sustainable plan and not tracking progress. So wherever it is that you're starting your journey, whether it's overdraft or dipping into it or with not much, you'll have a plan. You'll be tracking your progress. And before you know it, you'll be budgeting ahead of your bills, not behind them. And so with that, folks, let me just do a couple of things. Number one, I'm going to open up the question window. I've just let you know that in the chat window. That's where I type to you. So if there are any thoughts and comments there, or maybe even answer me a question here if you want to type across to me, whereabouts are you starting along this timeline that we've been following? Are you starting with an overdraft? Let me know. Are you starting with a small amount that you know you're going to dip into? Or are you starting with a small amount and you're just struggling to get the money ahead of your bills? Let me know. I'm always interested in this workshop. And the other thing I'm going to do, of course, is I'm going to give you the link to the next session coming up. As we are at workshop number 8, we'll be doing a change of teacher. We'll be switching over to my good friend Jim. And Jim's going to go back and do a few workshops I've not covered, and then we'll be starting all over again with the basics. So if you're interested in joining Jim, I've just put the link to the next session in the workshop window. It'll be 30 minutes before Jim starts off with credit cards. Yeah, Molly, starting almost at zero. Yeah, that's me in real life. 10.5 years ago, pretty much to the week, I have been a YNAB customer. And on the day that I started YNAB, I was still living in the UK, still living in England, Scottish borders. And I started with £19.25. That's pretty much where I started. So yes, I could give those dollars a job, or pounds. Give those pounds a plan, I could say. Give those pounds a job. And of course, they weren't enough to cover everything I needed till payday. So I dipped into that red. And then, of course, you get paid and you cover the red overspending, and it's still not enough to get everything ahead. So then you dip in again. But you maybe find yourself one bill better off. And then your paycheck comes in and you cover all the red again. And you can go just one bill further forward, and then you dip into the red again. And then you get paid again. And you see how you can just go around that? Oliver, overdraft at the moment, primarily due to overspending in groceries and dining out. Two very tough categories to manage, Oliver. I think groceries especially is a tough one. Groceries is one of those things where we can't make a binary decision and say, I'm not going to spend on that. We know there's going to be some spend. And somewhere between having to spend enough on food to stay alive and spending on whatever we like, that is a very long continuum where there are many stages between the ends, right, Oliver? So yeah, groceries is a tough one. It may well be, to start with, Oliver, that your goal for groceries might not be realistic. I mean, if you're constantly putting, say, what's my goal here? If you're constantly saying 500 a month for food, and then you're putting the rest of your money in other categories, and then you're finding you're spending more than 500 on food. If you're doing that for more than a month or two, and there are no unusual circumstances like family coming to stay, kids coming to stay, eating you out of house and home, he says bitterly, all of those exceptional circumstances, I want you to maybe accept that possibly you're not constantly overspending groceries. What you're doing is constantly under budgeting groceries. That may be something to consider, Oliver. You may be typing in the number that you want to hit. So what I'd like you to do over time, I don't know how much history you've got, Oliver. That's going to help you. And it's also because you spend a lot on it. It's also about budgeting realistically, even in that case. I mean, first of all, the average spend is the thing that's going to take the guesswork away over time. That's what's going to give us the forward numbers, right? It may well just be that groceries are the thing that you decide to spend your money on. I mean, lots of us, most of us probably, I would say, spend more than we would need to. But then think about stuff that we show in the workshop we run on saving money on groceries. Think about, you also mentioned dining out, didn't you? Think about including something like emergency meals into your meal planning. You mentioned you're already thinking of meal planning as a way to cut back. Think about, well, when I go out on a Friday because I'm tired, it's the end of the week and I don't have groceries and I blow 60 bucks on eating out. See if you can find something that either you make or you can buy that is delicious, that can live in your freezer. It does not have to be cheap. It just has to be cheaper than dining out. Emergency meal, that's what we call it. Something you can just, in case of emergency, break glass. Open the freezer, grab it, heat it, eat it. And it's just saved you what you would have spent going out. Things like that. But meal planning are a classic as well. Yeah, Molly, how about self-employed, irregular, inconsistent pay? I still want you to do absolutely everything we've done here, Molly, because remember, we only add money when we get it, and we only make decisions about what we're going to do with it when we get it. And that doesn't change. Whether the income is predictable, fixed, or variable. What does change? What it means, Molly, is that our plan remains the same, our bills remain the same amount of money on the same date. All of that's the same for the likes of you and I. You know I'm a farmer, right? You know I'm a farmer, so you know I have variable income as well as you. All that changes is the certainty or lack of certainty as to which goals and which jobs get money. We get what we get, right, Molly? It's still got to cover the bills that happen. So we follow exactly the same rules. It's just that we have less certainty that we're going to meet our plan every month. And that's what the goals are designed to do. I mean, let's take a peek at this one. What's the goal on this? I'm going to set it to the one we've been dealing with. I'm going to set it to, I need 600, it's auto maintenance, not maintenance, car insurance. Here we go. There's my goal. My goal is to get me $600 ready to pay a bill that's coming in May. Rule 2 target says $100. That's what my plan is to find, 100 a month. Now, somebody who can build a plan with certainty because of fixed income knows they'll hit that every month along with the others. They'll just need to roll with the punches a little if some expenses come in bigger and some. Now, you and I don't have the certainty that we're going to be able to get as far as this each month. Some months our income may only cover here. And that's why the goal is going to react by looking at what I said I need. If I can't cover it this month, it's going to adjust based on the fact there is now 1 month less to get the 600 ready. And the goal then says, okay, Molly, you couldn't hit it last month. Don't worry. When you get your better months, I'm telling you what you need to put aside to catch up. And not only that, Molly, we can go the other way. If we happen to have a good month, we can beat the goals. If we beat the goals, they lower for the remainder of the period. So yeah, not all income is going to be certain by any means, but it still doesn't change the fact as to what gets the money first, what gets the money second, how we climb out of this hole, right? How to stop the temptation to spend on credit when you have a low income as a student. Oliver, if you've been to the credit card workshop yet, or if you've been to the Rule 3 workshop yet, there's a few little tips in there, because we encourage you when you are using a credit card not to think of it as just this pool of available money that you spend from and then suffer by trying to find money to cover a bill called my credit card bill. We want you to answer the question when you're looking at the shiny gadget and you're tempted to spend on whatever it is. We want you, whether you're spending on a credit card or not, to look at the budget first. The budget tells you whether you've got money for shiny gadgets. The credit card is not a source of money, it's a method of payment. And then if you look in that shiny gadgets category and there's only 150 in it and you want to spend 250, I don't want you to go, that's why I'm using a credit card. What I don't want you to do is a little technique called find the money first. Before you spend the 250, I want you to have 250 in shiny gadgets. I want you to work through real money, go through your fun money categories, go through your dining out, go through your clothing, look at all the things that you want less than the shiny gadget and take the money out of them. Then you can buy the shiny gadget and you see the consequences. Stay in control. Don't think of the card. Now, sometimes we're going to have to use a card. We're going to have to use a card if we get a $2,000 transmission repair on the car and we need it for work. So there's nothing wrong with carrying essential debt on a balance. But I want you to challenge the spending you're doing before you take that plastic out of your pocket, Oliver. And that's what the budget's about, budget categories. Find the money if you haven't got it. And if there isn't anywhere lower important than the gadget, Michael, in that case, you've just realized you would rather keep your money for the things that you've given it to rather than buy a gadget. Congratulations. You now have a chance to change your behavior around whether you buy the gadget. That is the trade-offs we make. What if it's not a credit card, but it's a line of credit from a store? Oliver, a store credit or a line of credit is a credit card with a badge on it. It is still a credit card, whether it's a line of credit, a store card, a badge line of credit. It's the same thing. It's money we haven't got. It's probably what got us into the hole. So we've got to recognize that what gets us out of the hole is changing behavior. And that's why we're tracking, that's why we're planning, that's where we're allocating every dollar as it comes in. Hey, fantastic. I'm just taking a quick glance down there. Quite a few of you are saying, yeah, dipping into the red and then coming out of it, then dipping in back in again. Yeah, that's the one where we got to stay motivated. We know it's making a difference. And my bit of motivation for that was just keeping an eye on which bills I'm able to get ahead on when I get paid. And then I know I'll dip down again and then back up again. It's like climbing a mountain. It's not a straight line. We go up some, we go down some, we go up some, we go down some. But every time we go up a little bit higher. Spectacular. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Many of you have been with me most of the day. My name's Dave, and for the last time today, fare thee well for now. Don't forget Jim's teaching credit cards in 20 or so minutes.